Well, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. John Fiddler is an English singer, songwriter, guitarist, pianist, and drummer who is most recognized as a founding member of blues rock band Medicine Head. Through most of the career, it was a duo comprised of John and Peter Hope Evans, who played harmonica, Jew's harp, and mouthbow. We'll find out what a mouthbow is. The band was active from 1968 to 1977. Other members at different intervals were Keith Relf of Yardbirds fame, Rob Townsend of Family, Roger Saunders, and George Ford. The band's biggest hit was One and One is One from 1973, reaching number 3 on the UK singles chart. Over the career of the band, there were 7 studio albums and numerous singles. There have been various live albums and compilations as well. John also spent time in the bands Box of Frogs and British Lions. And my guest today has also released a solo album, plus revived the Medicine Head moniker on a couple of recent releases, this year's Heartwork, the latest. Oh, and John is still playing live. Well, welcome, John.
Hi, Greg. How you doing?
All right. Well, thank you for taking time out to do this and meet up with me and have this little chat. Well, take us back to the beginning. Talk about where you were born.
Okay, I was born in Staffordshire in the Black Country. It's called the Black Country, which is the recognized home of heavy metal.
Okay.
Music, that is, and heavy metal, because that's where it was made. Steel, iron, anything you wanted like that. So I grew up in the smog of the city, which is why it was the Black Country, because everything was covered in soot and stuff from the foundries and the factories. And I was born there. And Peter Hope Evans was born in Wales, which is quite a long way away on the coast as well, a place called Bridgend. And so he didn't know anything about where I lived, until his father was relocated with work, and then he became associated with what is known as the Black Country. So.
Okay, yeah. There's a band, or probably a few, the Black Country Six or something, or the Black Country. I think it was like a folk band.
There's one called the Black Country Reunion, which is Joe Bonamassa and Glenn Hughes.
Okay.
Nathan Bonner, son of Mr. Bonner.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. Just yesterday, I spoke with a Welsh singer-songwriter who focuses on Welsh language music, and that was very interesting. We had a little bit of a communication breakdown, but I used Google Translate to get some of those translated in English. Well, tell us first off, what is a mouthbow? Yeah.
A mouthbow. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of a lovely lady named Buffy St. Marie.
Yes.
At all. That was the first time that we knew that we'd heard a mouthbow, was Buffy St. Marie singing something like Going Up Cripple Creek or something. And you make a bow, literally like a bow and arrow bow, out of a flexible piece of wood, or a cane, and you string a guitar string or something like that across it in a bow shape, and you put that on your mouth like that, and you hit the thing that makes this twang sound, twang. So you got the twang going there. Yeah. You can imagine, you hear it all the time in the mountains, Appalachian Mountains, I'm sure, just out there. Yeah. So she used to sing, going up the Cripple Creek, going on the road, down. So that was that. So Pete made that himself. And it was another one of his homemade things, like he didn't worry about, and neither did I. We didn't worry about having to have something special from Guitar Center or, anything like that. We just if we wanted to bash 2 pieces of wood together, we just get 2 pieces of wood, bash them together. So
you made your own, your own sound.
percussion instruments, stuff like that. Just pieces
Right.
of wood.
Well, that's what I think helped you stand out from everyone else too, as well, you know. Well, early on, do you remember hearing music in the household? Was there
I
any?
do, yeah. I've got two older sisters, and they were both rock and roll freaks. I mean, I'm talking about rock and roll as it began in, back in the day. And so constantly the radio was on in the house. Had this beautiful old, now I know it's beautiful old, tube radio. It sounded so warm, fantastic,
Yeah.
And they were tuning to a station called Radio Luxembourg, which was the only station playing anything like, rock and roll. And so I'd hear all day long. I'd hear, Elvis. I'd hear Little Richard. I'd hear all kinds of early stuff. And I know that during this period of time, I heard something that just like galvanized me to the floor. And I don't know exactly what it was, but I'm sure it was Muddy Waters. And it sort of went, something like that, or down, down, down. It was something like that. It could have been Howling Wolf, but I think it was Muddy Waters. And I was just, what is that? That's me,
Yeah.
And I think I was about 9 years old at the time, something like that. And I don't remember hearing anything like that again for quite a few years, because it was not played on the radio in the UK that I knew of, anyway, as a kid, as a little boy. So I had to wait a few more years to hear and find out what that was. There was no way of knowing, I mean, Luxembourg's not even in the UK, obviously. It's in Luxembourg.
Right.
Where would I know? Nobody at my school knew. And when I met up with Peter Hope Evans, we started a new school, brand new. It's a brand new school with brand new students from all over this area that we lived. And I was walking around. I've got a harmonica sticking up out of my top pocket, my blazer, in the school jacket. And there's this other guy, and he's walking around. He's got a harmonica sticking up out of his jacket pocket, and you just don't see this, And so it was like there was an immediate, hey, what? What are you doing with that? So yeah.
You guys kind of gravitated towards each other.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's very unusual. I've never met anyone else who ever, and I still haven't ever met anybody, in the same way. But yeah, my childhood, thankfully, thanks to my two sisters older than me, they just played rock and roll all day. And my younger of the two sisters, she has an incredible voice. So she went around the house harmonizing with everything. So I just listened to the radio and my sister harmonizing all day long. Anytime the radio was on, she was there, she was harmonizing. Yeah. And she had her own band, and she sang also with an orchestra, with a big orchestra. She had a great voice. She was very, very good.
What band was that she sang with?
It was her own band her name was Cynthia. Cynthia. But she changed the name to Cindy. Okay. And she was Cindy Taylor and the Taylor Boys, I think it was. Cindy Taylor. I don't know what they did. I mean, but I think they played locally. I think they might have been offered like gigs to Germany or something, like the beat groups, like the Beatles. And, we're talking of that time, that era.
Right, that era. Well, what was the first musical instrument that you learned to play?
Piano.
Okay.
Yeah, my father had a piano, and sadly he died when I was 1, so I never knew him, but the piano remained, and so that was there in the house, and that was always there. So I just started first of all reaching up to the keys like this, and then
Yeah,
gradually, the keys got down here as I figured. I was able to start doing my little Richard
Little
beat
Richard.
up on the keyboard, slamming the hell out of it.
Did you take any lessons or just all self-taught?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't know. I'm lucky like that. I think I'm not. I can't. I did do music for a very short period of time in school, but I didn't take any lessons for guitars or pianos. In fact, that when medicine had first started, I just played piano. Peter played harmonica, and I sang, and that was it. But the places, it's a little bit of a long story, but we were just hanging out, really doing nothing. Dropouts. And we weren't really doing much at all. And a friend of ours from school came over to where I was living and said, I hear you doing something with music. And I said, well, maybe, we're writing some songs. And, oh, where are you playing them? He said, Andy. And I said, nowhere. He said, so you're writing songs and you're not playing them anymore? And I said, no. He said, why? I said, well, oh God, I don't know. We haven't got a van. We've got no transport. He said, oh, okay. So he came back the next day and said, right, we're going off to get a car or something to get you guys around. So we went to a junk yard, to buy a junked car, which we paid £5 for, all of £5.
Is that right?
And Peter hadn't got a clue about how to drive. I'd never driven in my life, so I hadn't got a clue. I got no license. I got no insurance. I got nothing.
How old were
I
you?
got in his car and drove it out of the junkyard straight into a lamppost, which was great. So Andy said, well, this is reverse, right? This is reverse now. So I reversed out of the lamp. I didn't hit it hard, but anyway, I reversed away from the lamppost and then put it into first gear, I thought, and sort of like skipped away, hopped away down the road. And then we got a car, so he said, well, haven't you been to play anywhere? And I said, no, none of that stuff, Yeah. And he said, right, let's go and find some places to play. So we used to just show up somewhere and before anybody else got there and just go in and pretend we were the band or, say, can we play or whatever it is. A gate crash anywhere we could. Tell
your Jethro Tull story. Yeah.
I will, but let me just finish this because everywhere we went, all the keyboards were completely smashed to bits or totally out of tune, and we realized we've got to get a guitar. So it's like, we got to get a guitar. So neither of us played guitar. So, and Andy, meantime, had got us a couple of gigs, a couple of weeks down the road. So we went, I think Peter had just inherited a few pounds, So we went down to London, bought various things like 2 AC30s, Vox AC30s, a couple of microphones, a guitar. So then I had to learn how to play a guitar, and I had to transform everything from the piano
to guitar,
to the guitar. And also at some point I learned how to play a couple of chords on a left-handed guitar upside down. So, I had to then learn the guitar the right way up because I'd been playing a left-handed guitar upside down. So I had to sort of get my fingers to go like that, instead of going like that, I had to go like that. So anyway, my fingers were, you can imagine what they were like after a week and a half. They were just blobs of blood there.
Oh yeah.
We had to go play. And that first gig, I thought my fingers were going to burn off, because just completely covered in blood. And
Oh my God.
people thought it was all part of the act. It was really funny.
I was going to say, yeah.
Full of blood everywhere. And me going, oh my God. Anyway, we got through that, and we realized we needed to get to see somebody who might be able to help us along the way, because everybody liked us. We were very lucky. People really enjoyed what we were doing, and we knew that this DJ named John Peel was the right kind of guy, because he was a very, he would play music from all kinds of different areas of life, different kinds of bands. He played music no one's ever heard. He was great.
He championed a whole lot of bands, up and coming bands, and helped jumpstart a lot of bands as well. Yeah,
he did. Yeah, and we were one of them. We were lucky enough. We found out he was playing at a local club called the Lafayette Club, and so we went straight there in our 5-pound car. It broke down all the time. I'll tell you stories about that. But we got there and we said, we found out Jethro Tull, right? Jethro Tull were the main act. And so we decided that we were Jethro Tull. We told the door guys, let us in with Jethro Tull. We've got to get gear in for the guys. So we got our equipment in there. And of course, eventually Jethro Tull arrived. They realized that it was not us. So I convinced the guys, anyway, the manager of the place, to let us play. He said, 15 minutes to go. So we were very thankful about that. John Peel actually wasn't there until the last 5 minutes of our 15 minutes. So he did get to see us, but it was 5 minutes. And send me a tape. I really liked what you did. And so our 5 minutes, eventually was kind of okay. So we then had to find how to record a tape, and we recorded the infamous kitchen tape, which is it's lore. It's like lore and legend in Medicine Head land. We borrowed some kind of Grundig or some kind of old tape recorder, and we just set up in the kitchen, just put it on the table, put this microphone out, and we just play it, and got that down to John Peel, sent it down to John Peel, and a few days later we got a telegram, because we didn't have a phone. So we got a telegram guy on a bicycle who lived right at the end of a private lane. And this guy arrived with a telegram for us saying, John Peel, stop. Call me as soon as you can, stop. Tape's great, something like that. And a phone number. So we had to then walk for miles, because I don't know, maybe the van or the car was, by this time, had got 10 broken tires or whatever.
Anyway, John Lennon was a fan also, right?
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, what happened was we called John Peel, and he said, I've been playing it to a few people. And I said, okay, what do you think? And he said, we love it. He said, but the one who loves it most of all is John Lennon. And I'm going, suddenly, silent. And did he say John Lennon?
Actually, yeah, right.
Yeah, and he said it again, John Lennon. Yeah, John and Yoko, they love it. Yeah, Pete Townsend, he loves it. Clapton, he loves it. So they just play it over and over again. And I'm thinking, this guy's just not for real, but he was actually telling us the truth. And Lennon said to Peel, you've got to sign these guys, and you've got to put this record out just as it is. The table, the kitchen tape, the infamous kitchen tape.
Yeah.
And which he did do. You know, he put it out on his label on Dandelion Records and signed us up, you know, to Dandelion Records.
That must have been a really surreal experience. You know, some of the musicians that you admired
Oh,
playing and
and
listening
we were
to
just,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we were just so in awe, you know.
Right.
It's like really in awe. It's like when I first met Jim McCarty, you know,
Yeah.
I was in awe, you know.
Right.
And that came about because we were looking for someone to produce our second album, I think. John Peel produced the first album, which meant John sat in the control room, read the paper or something. You know?
Yeah, right.
It just came into the studio one time and said,
Right. Well,
"It's great."
Well, off of the first album, a couple of tracks that I really enjoy was Home's Odyssey
All right.
and Oh My Heart to Peace. That's a really
Oh,
nice one. Yeah, both of those tracks. I just want to throw
wow.
those in. Yeah, really nice tracks. And then so this was through Jim. That's how you got to meet Keith Relf? Is that, or how did that come about?
Yeah, we had actually by this time, I think by this time we'd actually got a manager, and that management company managed Keith Relf. They managed Renaissance, and then I think Keith had another band, which I can't remember, with Jim McCarty. Anyway, Keith was looking for things to do. You know, Yardbirds was over, Renaissance was over, and he was looking at production, you know, trying to find stuff to do. So he was recommended to us, and we got on really well. And yeah, Keith started producing the next album.
The next album. He did a great job, I have to say. I mean, he knew what he was doing.
We did get the first and only hit for Dandelion Records, a song called "Pictures in the Sky."
Yes.
Or parenthesis, is it you call it over there? And the Pictures in the Sky.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
from 71, it's Heavy on the Drum. That's the one that Keith produced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's several tracks on there. I think that's a fine album. Any Day Now, nice. Thou Shalt Not Pass. You can tell I kind of like the more mellow tracks, you know.
Yeah.
Expectation Blues and Once There Was a Day. Those are all really, really top notch.
It's interesting because there's no, I mean, it's called production, but the first album it was just simply a gig. You know, we played whatever we did on stage. We just played that in the studio, and you know, we got a little 100-watt WEM PA system, for example, and we took that into the studio, and I had a Shure SM57 microphone I used to sing through. And so that went through into the PA system, which was then mic'd up by Neumann 47s, you know, 87s. They had all these pristine studio vintage microphones and preamps and God knows what else. But all we were using was, you know, like a Shure SM57. And do you know what I mean? So it was like it was low hi-fi.
Right.
That was really good. Yeah. And
but I think it worked. I think it worked though, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because it was more of a feeling really than a sound almost. It was like a feeling converted into a sound suddenly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, why did Peter leave at the end of 71?
I don't think he had any interest in being in the charts.
Okay.
I think that really bothered him. And, you know, I've got a song called, well, I can't remember what it's called now, actually, but there's a line in it that goes, they say the only constant thing is change.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's called Only the Roses. And it's a song about, you know, only the roses. I can't change this, how I feel about you.
Yes.
But only the roses make me feel sad, or whatever. But in it, there's a line that says, you know, they say the only constant thing in life is change, which is generally true, you know. But I'm saying, but I can't rearrange this. I can't change about you in this song. But the reason I'm saying it is that things change. You know, we can't stop it. You know, and it's not necessarily you that changes. There's things all around you that change, and attitudes change towards you. And especially if you have a hit record at times like that, you know, a lot of people said, "Oh, you've sold out." You know,
Right.
You've sold out, and I think Peter's quite affected by that. But I can't really talk too much about, you know, for him.
Right.
But that's the sort of feeling that I got. Pete's a very eccentric, very creative guy, and I can see that potentially that's, you know, what happened to Pete. And he left twice, or I think it's twice or three times. Once at that time, then he came back again. Yeah, twice, and left in '76. Actually, it was 1976.
Okay. Yeah.
And funnily enough, it was when the last time he left was when we had just weathered the storm with punk, you know, because we were called folk proto punk, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, we could smack it down with the hardest of all of them, and we could be gentle angels at the same time. So we were quite able to do that. And so we did a lot of gigs with punks in there. We replaced punks who dropped out of the gig, you know, we replaced them. And we had a fantastic time because, you know, that's how we were. We were kind of anti gloss.
Right. It was good that you weathered that storm, because so many other bands fell by the wayside with the advent of punk, you know, when it hit.
Yeah. And I think it's because our attitude is the same, you know, very much DIY, do it yourself, and, you know, don't get hung up in, you know, all kinds of hype, etc. And I think that's what he got a little confused himself.
Okay.
But anyway, I've written this song called "One More Chance to Run," which, you know, I put it for Pete and me to try to one more time, you know, just one more time. And we'd actually got back into the British top 40, which is not big, but it's not bad. You know, we got back in the van. We worked everywhere, all over the country, and over into Europe, and we worked really, really hard. We got back into the British charts, and just as we hit there, Pete turned around and said, "I'm leaving." So it was kind of, you know, I said, "Well, you know, whatever you want to do, Pete, you know, but, you know, what do you think I should do? You know, we just worked our socks off trying to do this. You know, do you think you'll be coming back?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I'm never coming back." So, you know, I said, "Well, do you mind if I use the name Medicine Head?" Yeah. No. So he didn't mind about that. He wrote me a letter saying, "You use Medicine Head is yours." So, which was a sad time, you know, because we had worked so hard together. Right. Nobody else did what we did. I mean, we were completely unique, you know. Yeah. There was no other band anywhere in the world that did it. I mean, we've had people like Dennis Hopper dancing on tables, you know. Mike Wadley from Woodstock, you know, he was a big fan, you know. And of course, you know, we had our British fans as well, but yeah, it was a shame, but he decided he had to go.
Yeah. Well, going back to your going back to playing live, you said all over Europe. What countries or what parts did you really go down well? Which countries?
Well, the biggest European country for anything is Germany. You know, it's the biggest market, and it's, I suppose, going back to when I was a lot younger, we used to do so many interviews with the bases, you know, the US bases over there, because of the post-Second World War.
Right.
There was a big presence of American
Army, Air Force,
Army, Air Force, etc. You know,
right.
So the radio stations were fantastic, playing American music all day long. You know, and so we used to go and do tons of interviews throughout Germany with the bases. You know, it was brilliant. You know, we'd hear the music we wanted to hear, which was American music always, and rock and roll, like old school blues, etc.
Well, you know,
we played everywhere, though, France, Germany. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I always think that you guys over there, you know, you were inspired by American music, you know, R&B, blues, whatnot. But then I think you turned it around. You put your own influence on it, and then gave it back to us, and almost I don't want to say mastered it, but you really, you know, put your own flavor into it, and that's the kind of music that I enjoy. Yeah.
Well, I think we can say very honestly that it came from our heart.
Right.
You know, it came to our heart from you guys, you know, from the old blues guys, the black guys. You know, there's wonderful people who weathered all kinds of storms, and they sent it out from their heart with all honesty.
Right.
So we could bring it back. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of soul,
I think we identify with that because
right.
I've never learned to be a musician. Let me try to figure out how I can say this. You know, I'm more of a writer and more of I always say to people, they say, "Are you a musician?" I say, "No, you know, I'm a magician. You know, I make you think I'm a musician, but you know, I'm not like a virtuoso of anything. Or, you know, musicians, I think, are people who pick up guitars, go, you know, play whatever, or piano, play a concerto, whatever it may be. Whereas I play, and I play quite masterfully, but I play helping people listening to think that I'm a musician by magic."
Well, it works. It works well. I got to say that.
It doesn't feel right for me. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. You know.
Right. But you know, you've got to. You know, I hear this over and over again. You've got to do it for yourself first, and you have to like what you're doing. You can't please everybody, of course. That's never going to happen. But I wanted to go back to Dark Side of the Moon. Interesting that your album came out a year before Pink Floyd's. And it is in 72, Pink Floyd was touring the album as Eclipse. That's what they were calling it. And then after your album failed to amount to any commercial success, Pink Floyd became the flag bearer of Dark Side of the Moon, and the rest is history. Doesn't seem quite fair to me.
Well, I mean, you know, there are a few things here, but the most important thing really is that their album, Dark Side of the Moon, now called Dark Side of the Moon, is a fantastic album. You know, it's amazing. So, you know, every year I do interviews asking me, or talking to me about, oh, you put out Dark Side of the Moon, an album called Dark Side of the Moon first before Pink Floyd. And the answer is yes, I did, a year and a half, whatever. But I love the Dark Side of the Moon album by Pink Floyd, the one everybody knows. It is fantastic,
Right.
And I mean, there's no copyright in the title,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I sent some stuff to.
Yeah. Well, John, we would.
Daryl Hall, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, no, that's all right. I was going to say, we would love the album if it was called Eclipse. It's the same. It would be the same album. We would just call it Eclipse today instead of Dark Side of the Moon. So,
I think there is a magic about the title. There is a magic about Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I've written a song called Dark Side of the Moon, which, funnily enough, is played all over Spotify, all over the USA, and Apple Music. And the line in it is something like, if your lover leaves you in the night, it's much too soon.
Yeah.
You feel like you're living on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah. Right.
That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, mine was more of a love song, I suppose. So I write a lot of love songs. And, I mean, it's a great title. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, have you, over the years, did you ever hear from Roger or David?
No.
Okay, about that. I'm just curious.
No, nothing.
Okay.
We just decided to take it.
Right.
I mean, bless them. I would have said, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It would have been nice, kind of just a recognition or something. But well, moving on, I like both sides of the single, Only to Do What Is True and Sitting in the Sun. I think that's a fine single, both the A and the B side. Do you recall the writing and composing those?
I do.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Only to Do What Is True is a piano. I wrote it on the piano. And it's kind of interesting when I listen back to what my voice was like at that point and the way that I used to say words.
Yeah.
And it's very pronounced in those songs. I mean, I'm trying to think now. It's like a bird in the sky. That's it. Like a bird in the sky. And I sing something like almost like a Boyd. It's almost like somebody out of Brooklyn or something.
Yeah.
Like a Boyd.
Right. Boyd. Yeah. Well, another single, the B side to another single, maybe my favorite Medicine Head song is Morning Light, which was the B side of How Does It Feel? Yeah. I really love that track, Morning Light.
Yeah. A lot of people like that stuff. I mean, the people who played on those records, I didn't play drums on that. I had a bass. It was the guys from the Average White Band, Alan Gorrie and Robbie.
Right.
So, and it was just simple stuff. The simplest of stuff.
I think that's some of your best material too. The simpler, not too complicated.
So, I think I like to keep things as simple as possible.
Yeah. Well, One and One is One. Talking about the single, to me, it's got that kind of George Harrison guitar, and the minimal sound again that you guys were known for. We just talked about that. The Jew's harp was very unique, on that. And as far as your sound around this period, I guess developing in the early 70s, 73, 74. I put you in the same camp as Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You, Climax Blues Band, you know,
Yeah.
that's all, and Mole on the Dole. Are you familiar with those tracks? And even Mungo Jerry's In the Summertime, you know, a
Yeah, I
little,
mean, there is a
yeah,
ability.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Kind of the,
also,
uh-huh.
sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say a little jug band, style.
Yeah.
Especially with, yeah.
Prior to, I mean, Tony Ashton's the guy who produced that album. And when I played him One and One is One, it was more like like a Fats Domino sort of
Okay,
rolling kind of piano-y kind of thing.
okay,
You know, almost like
right,
it keeps raining and raining. You know,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
need nobody. Very New Orleans,
yeah. New
um,
Orleans, yeah.
that kind of feel. And then Tony straightened it out a bit, and that was okay. I never thought in a million years it could ever be a hit record.
That was
But
my question. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and it was the biggest surprise, when it was. But the riff, the down, 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 down,
yeah.
um, uh, a lot of people have said, well, you know, you stole that straight off Dire Straits off Mark Knopfler, so
Okay,
far away from.
okay.
And
Uh,
I said, I don't know if you can
I
picture that in your head.
yeah, I can hear that.
Like there's an
Yeah,
affinity there. And I
yeah,
said, well, I think you'll find,
yeah.
that there's quite a few years between One and One
Right.
is One big hit record
And then that
um,
Dire Straits
and
later.
Dire Straits a lot
Right,
later. You'll
right.
see where that came from.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
You won't
Yeah.
see where this came from, but you'll definitely hear where that came from.
Right,
And
right.
so, there's a lot of stuff like that goes on. Anyway, I mean,
No,
it's
no,
all
no.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if anybody was borrowing from anybody, it was yeah, Mark. It was, but we won't go into that.
No,
Um,
I mean, it's
yeah,
it goes around.
yeah. Well,
I don't.
what's surprising to me, how many chords are there? Let's say on a guitar, um, and or a piano, how many keys that people don't step on other people's toes more often, and don't borrow more often than they do, with all the music throughout history,
That's crazy, isn't it? I always
Yeah.
say I learned my 2.5 chords.
Right. Not three, but two and a half.
I like to try to keep it like that though, as well.
Yeah. Well, you've written some great melodies, you have a thing for melody. You have a great ear naturally, but really a thing for melody. Um,
Thank you.
but moving on to the album of the same name, One and One is One. Probably my favorite album. Um, Besides the title track, I like Out on the Street. How does
That
it
was
feel?
actually that was produced by Keith Relf.
Okay. All right.
It was
All
a
right.
leftover from Heavy on the Drum.
Okay. That was all right. All right. And then How Does It Feel? Instant Karma Kid. Nice guitar work on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Din, 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 din.
Right. 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 Yeah. Memorable.
That was
Exactly.
Doris Troy singing backing
Was it?
vocals.
Was it really? Was it really? Wow. Okay. I have one of her best of CDs, Doris Troy. Yeah. 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 She has some great songs. Great voice. Yeah. Um, and then
Incredible.
um, and then Morning Light again. The harmonica. You know, was that kind of a nod to Dylan?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bit like saying to him, that was a bit of a nod to Woody Guthrie. And yeah, I love Woody Guthrie.
Uh-huh.
Um, but
Yeah.
yes, I love Bob Dylan, and I mean, it's madness to think that we're not influenced by somebody. You know, I mean,
Right, right.
we are all influenced by somebody
Of course.
you know,
It comes
the
out in
great,
your music. Yeah,
yeah,
who you like, yeah, is going to come out in your music.
natural, you know.
Right, it is natural. It is natural. And then the following year, through a five from '74,
Yeah.
I like The Season and the Sign. Very pretty
Ah,
song. And nice with just the piano on that one. Very pretty. And then Changing Man. I think I sent you the link from my other channel. I don't know if you're able to check out the comments on it, but that tribal drumming that's evident and comes across in other songs. I like that. And then
well,
White Dove. Yeah.
oh, yeah. We
Okay.
use
Go ahead.
two drummers. I love drums.
Yeah.
You know, naively, and I hope in all innocence, you know, my um, God, this is really, you know, I'm British, obviously, but I really love the whole ethic of the Native American Indian
Yeah.
and the wholesome,
Right.
you know, the stories I've been told, the wholesome way of life, etc. And you know, I had a bar in Apache country in Arizona, and the bar was on the edge of the reservation, which is, you know, I didn't know much about what's going on over there at the time. But I met a lot of natives, you know, and I went to powwows and stuff, you know. So really, I don't quite know how to say it without crying.
Yeah.
You know, the way that we treated so many people. But it definitely conjured up in my spirit an affinity with a whole kind of way of life almost that was destroyed and etc. But still is rising from the ashes. And that was why I wrote the album Return of the Buffalo.
Yes.
And then particularly the song Return of the Buffalo. Because that's what it was all about, you know, to try to reconcile and try to, you know, stop living like a lost nation.
Right.
You know. Anyway, drums I love. So on those tracks you just mentioned, like White Dove, we used two drummers, which was just great to hear. Just two drummers pounding with. I saw not long ago King Crimson, and
okay.
yeah, I mean Bob Fripp, he had three drummers.
Okay.
I had drummer envy. It was just incredible. It was incredible. If you ever get a chance to see Bob Fripp before it's too late, you know,
Well,
just please go. It's
yeah. I did see them back in late '70s, I guess it was, or early '80s. Yeah, with Adrian Belew. Is he still with them? I'm not sure. Adrian.
I never retained that kind of information. So.
Okay, all right. I did want to mention something from the Native American, the affinity for the Americans. You know, of course, here those are the true Americans. You know, the only Americans. Everyone else is an immigrant. But I did an interview with. Do you remember the Stampeders, the Canadian group?
No.
Yeah. Sweet City Woman. Do you remember that single, Sweet City Woman? Okay. It was you know, a big hit. Canadian. I did an interview with Ronnie King, who sadly passed away, not Canadian, not long ago. But he wrote a song called "Then Came the White Man." If you ever get a chance, yeah, talking about the native, and there's a real good video on YouTube where it's like an extended, and it's got some picture shots, you know, nice images and stuff. but it's about that, you know. Then came the white man. You know what happened when that happened. So if you ever get a chance to, you know, look that up, Stampeders, Then Came the White Man, because it's got
Oh,
that drumming on there as well. They're really nice. So nice that they did the tribute, and that there, you know, there are people out there that remember and have an affinity for the indigenous. Um,
well,
well, yes,
medicine,
yes,
just the name.
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
it was for two reasons. One was the kind of conjuring up the affinity with Native American, and
Mhm.
also it was music was literally medicine for my head.
Right,
I don't know where I would have been without it. You know, I would have.
right,
I don't know what I would have done. I owe music uh, and magic my life, really.
right. Well, I agree with that 100%. I think music to me is the highest art form. I don't know where I would be either. You know, it ministers to me so much, and it's an escape sometimes. That's why I listen to a lot of the older music, because the times we're going through right now are so awful. You know, we all need some kind of escape. But yeah, it's spiritual. It's it touches you right, you know, like you said, right in here. Um, but interesting that one of my favorite groups, Ian Hunter's Mott the Hoople, once he left, it was Mott. They just dropped the Hoople. And
Yeah,
then after the short-lived Mott, you joined as vocalist, and the band was renamed British Lions. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we
Talk
knew
about,
each other. We used to bump into each other all the time. You know, playing gigs anywhere and everywhere. You know, so we'd often just pull up at some college or club or university or something, and they'd be there as well. You know, so we'd see them a lot. Became friends. So when actually we did put British Lions together, a name which I don't like at all, by the way. Just no. But anyway, we won't go into that.
okay.
But I think one of the first gigs we did, Ian came along. You know, Ian Hunter,
Yeah.
and you know, he came in, and I persuaded him to get up and play and sing dudes. You know, because we didn't usually play all the dudes; we did our own songs. But Ian was there, so it was great. So I had the great fun, honor, privilege of singing that with Ian.
Uh-huh.
So you know, we went back. We go back a long way. You know, and sadly, you know, we've lost three of the lions,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and there's only Morgan Fisher and myself left now. Um, and you know, I mean, we're still pounding it out. Morgan's still playing. Um, yeah, it's quite an interesting thought,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, you know, I in a way, I say this a lot. I wished I had started doing these years ago, these interviews, you know, because so many, like you said, have passed. There's so many musicians I would have loved to have talked to.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, don't have that chance now. But so I gotta grab them while I can. Right.
Yeah, well,
Right, right.
they're
Well,
cool.
right, right. Well, you know, I do have a copy of the first British Lion album, the one with the lion on the cover from what, 78? The single from the album, One More Chance to Run. You mentioned earlier about kind of going into that punk era. It's almost a punk track, especially
Well,
the
that was
guitar.
the song I wrote for Peter Harbems and myself
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
to
Yeah,
regenerate, you know, to
yeah,
reinvigorate Medicine Head.
yeah,
Pete said,
yeah.
I'm gone, you know.
Right,
So I
right.
had this song, and I went, you know, we were, Morgan Fisher was right at my house. We were just having dinner and talking, and the phone kept ringing for him.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually he said, well, said, the guys, they keep calling me up because I'm supposed to be here to ask you if you wanted to, you know, go into a rehearsal room and see what we could do. see if we can do anything, see if you fancy joining up with us, you know. And I said, well, God, man, well, just sit down now and shut up. You know, don't answer the phone anymore.
Right.
But we did do that, and that's what happened, you know. And I had that song,
Yeah.
and I've been playing it to Morgan, and he loved it,
Yeah.
and the guys loved it, and it was like it was a chance for us all. You know, it was supposed to be for Peter Harp Evans and me and Medicine Head.
Yeah.
But Pete didn't want to do that. The guys in Mott the Hoople, they wanted a new start, and it was one more chance to run.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it all made sense, and they made a great job playing that track.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It has a little more melody than most punk songs, but it does have that punk ethic, I think, in there as well. On my CD, there's extra tracks, and I really like the demo for "Can't Get Over You." You remember that one? Yeah, yeah.
I can't get over you.
Yeah,
it's almost Texan.
Yeah, maybe
no,
that's
because I was a big fan of Buddy Holly.
Uh-huh.
So some of the inflections. I mean, I'm English, so I shouldn't be singing.
Yeah.
Like American, but you can't sing the songs that I write. They're all written American.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably Ray Majors and myself did that demo.
Okay.
Can't get over you.
Yeah. What was the song ever mastered as an actual track? Or
I don't think so.
yeah. Yeah.
It might have been. I did a few tracks for after British Lions. I did some stuff for Harvest label, which is I think EMI. A guy named John Carter, who's usually known as, worked at EMI in Capitol in LA, and he produced the Motels, amongst others.
Okay.
He was great. So we did a few. That could have been one of them.
Well, moving on to Box of Frogs, again with Jim McCarty. Talk about your time there and any interesting stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew I was introduced to Jim and a lot of the other guys by Keith Relf, and so I guess that they kind of, and Keith actually moved his family and lived next door to me. You know, we were like very close, and I think the Yardbirds wanted to record again, and they wanted to, you know, write songs and get back to that stage. I think they were playing a few gigs as the Yardbirds, and I got a phone call from Jim saying, in his inimitable style, you know, hello, hello, John. And, you know, so we're thinking of putting the Yardbirds back together and making a new album. So we're looking for somebody who sings, writes songs, play a harmonica.
Yeah.
You know, I said, oh yeah, who would that be then, Jim? You know, who might that be? Well, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? I said, yeah, me. He said, oh yeah. You know, it was very, 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 very late. So we went down to Jeff Beck's house, and there were a few kind of embryonic ideas that people got, and we just threw them around and started playing, and it went really well, you know. And before I knew it, you know, we were writing songs together, and we were recording some demos, and I think we got back where I started. Jim and I put that together basically around at my studio. Actually, I think I've still got the originals of that. And then we started to get together with Chris and Paul Smith, and you know, writing, just throwing ideas in. and I think we came up with 5 tracks as a kind of demo tape, and nobody was interested in this country at all, in the UK.
Yeah.
Nobody. I think Ernest Chapman, who managed Jeff Beck,
Yeah.
he played it to a few people, and they kind of went, oh. Well, moving on to the next whatever, you know. They weren't interested at all. So I thought, well, you know, of course they're not interested. They just don't know what it's about. You know, they just don't know. So I decided to go over to the USA. And the first person I rang was Carter at Capitol.
Okay.
And I went there, and we went in, had a meeting with the main boss guy, and he said, "Oh, this is fantastic. You know, we love this." And that's the way it was meant for America. It was never meant for the UK.
Yeah.
You know, the UK couldn't see it if it was like slammed in their face. But anyway, I said, "Well, do you want to sign us?" And the guy said, "Yeah, really interested." I said, "Okay, phone this number now." So I had him phone Ernest Chapman, who's our manager, like I said, right away. And he did, you know, giving him all his dues. He did actually do that. And spoke with Ernest, and they started a dialogue then about signing Box of Frogs, which was still called the Yardbirds, to Capitol. And then, you know, that kind of developed and developed. And I just said to the guys one day, look, I said, I just got something to ask you. Don't worry if you can't do it, but Keith was a very good friend of mine, and he was the only singer ever in the Yardbirds, as far as I'm concerned. And I said, just out of respect for Keith, would you consider changing the name? Everybody will know who you are. Everybody knows the Yardbirds. At that time, it was true. I mean, maybe not so much now, but back in those days, everybody knew who the Yardbirds were. So everyone will know. You don't have to worry about you being recognized or, you know, whatever. And to their, you know, to their great sort of, they were able to step away from themselves a bit and think about it, the bigger picture. And they said, yeah. So I was quite surprised, because it's quite a thing to give up. But on the other hand, Keith was the only singer. I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to take anything away from him at all.
Right.
And so somebody came up with that stupid name, Box of Frogs, and we got stuck with it. And it was very, you know, in the USA, it was quite a good album.
Did well over here, yeah. Well, weren't the Yardbirds more popular here in the US anyway than the UK? I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Funny, I mean, Keith told me a great story, amongst others. I mean, he told me lots of great stories about those very early days of British bands going into America, you know, like the Yardbirds, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. There's 3 massive ones to start.
Yeah.
And he said that he was at an airport somewhere, and he waiting to get on a plane, and this guy came over to him, and he realized it was Frank Zappa. You know? And Frank Zappa said, well, Keith, how's it feel? You started it all. How's it feel? You know, you guys, you started all of this rock and roll, all this psychedelic, all this, you started it all. How do you feel? I think, you know, I mean, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it really does. You know, I know, speaking with Jim McCarty, I asked him about being on Dick Clark's Caravan of Stars. that was not a good billing there for the Yardbirds. I mean, you know, it's really strange, really odd, you know, because with all of these like pop groups, you know.
Yeah.
So, wow. But moving on to, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, the Return of the Buffalo. your solo album from '95. You do a nice cover of John Lennon's "Working Class Hero" off of that one. Yeah.
Interestingly, I still do play that song.
Oh,
I always
you
think to myself that he wrote it for me, so I have to sing it.
right. It
And
speaks
when
to
I
you.
sing it, it just makes
Yeah.
me feel,
Yeah.
it makes me feel incredibly different or something. It it charges me up.
Right. Right. You know, and it's good that music does that. You know, I mean, it has that kind of. Well, you mentioned. I know what I was going to talk about, or you mentioned about the medicine. You know, music is medicine, and the healing properties in music. Music is therapy, and all of that. You know, all of the applications. You know, for music. You know, helping tame the wild beast. You know, you hear that, but it really does. You know, it has so many healing properties, you know, to it. Um, what was 2011? What was Fiddler Sophical?
What was okay? We were talking about this earlier as well. Actually, I lived in America for a long time, and I came back to the UK about 2016, I think. But I've been going out there since the mid 90s. You know, eventually got a green card, etc. And every year I would do an interview on NPR or something like that, so nationally syndicated, about having released an album called Dark Side of the Moon before Pink Floyd. And so it was on one of these interviews. I think it was an anniversary, you know, so 45th anniversary or something like that of Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. And I was asked whether I was putting a new album out or writing the album. I said, yeah, I am actually at the moment, which I was, but I hadn't got a title for it. And I like words, you know, I enjoy words. I like playing around. And when I was a kid, I got this name Fiddler, and everybody would call me all kinds of weird names. And, you know, it was quite sort of, I had to sustain the sticks and stones of words. And I said, yeah, you know, I've got the album and this inevitably, what's it called? And I said, well, I don't know. I've been thinking of calling it, oh God, I've been thinking of calling it Philosophical. And I just blurted it out, just came out with it like that. And the guy was knocked out, you know, he just sort of philosophical. Wow, that's really kind of, man, you know, it's really got something going there, philosophical. I said, yeah, I get very philosophical sometimes. We just carried it on. So anyway, that was the beginning of that. It was a title I came up with after talking about another very famous title.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you know who Colin Hare is? You know,
Sorry, who?
Colin Hare, Hare, Colin Hare. He's a singer-songwriter around the same early 70s. He's gotten a lot of mileage from his last name, Hare. You know, like
All right.
you know, like the rabbit hair. You know,
Yeah, right.
hair. I told him, I said, you should come out with an album, Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. You know, some. You know, he said, I might use that one, but he's used the play on words on his.
Air to the Future.
Right, Hair to the Future. I like that. It's another one. Well, from 2021, Warriors of Love, credited to Medicine Head. The title track is really nice on that one. Yeah, I like that one.
Well, it sort of says a lot of, it just lays a lot of things out straight away. You know, it's like, you know, I think the first lines are something like, I believe in freedom, I believe in truth, I believe in the power of love, and I believe in you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then we can't stand by and watch all these tears as the whole world cries. I'm a warrior of love.
Right.
We've got to do something about it. You know, that's what it was all about. So, and it's a very American, Native American Indian, a warrior. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And they were very often warriors of love.
That's very true. I think it's up to you guys, you musicians these days, to help heal the world. Artists like yourself. Songs like that people need to listen to, hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a massive message, but it is at the same time.
Yeah,
it's not a protest song. It's potentially like an inclusion or an involvement in a more caring, loving society.
Yeah,
it's all good warriors.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I hope so. I hope we turn this thing around, before it's too late. And this year, your latest.
Or it's November.
Yeah, 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 right. I know. I hear you. Right. We won't get into that, but yeah, it's really, yeah. Anyway, your latest from Heartwork. Again, Medicine Head. Making Up for Lost Love. Great blues track. That one to me recalls Peter Green, like something he would have done. Yeah, yeah.
I love Peter Green. I mean, the original Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible. I mean, he just had it all, Peter. Right. I mean, huge soul, huge, very giving, very thoughtful, very. Yeah. I mean, he didn't have to be the boss, it just was.
Right.
Because that's what he was. I mean, it's just apparent.
Right.
Just so incredibly talented and incredibly, I mean, he could really communicate.
Right. Right.
Massive communication.
Like songs like Albatross, it's just got a life of its own and will always travel. But then Man of the World, that's one of my favorites. But then he had those blues, he could just crank out a blues jam as well. So yeah, you're right. Great stuff from Peter. Sadly, he's no longer with us either. The other track I wanted to mention off of is Alibi. Nice guitar, really, really nice guitar on that. I like that.
I mean, it's a very simple little riff, that first riff.
Yeah.
And it's all about the feel, It's like one of those things where I was trying to almost like say a lot of things in a short space, as it were, but make it feel very spacious at the same time. And I think that's if that makes any sense. I mean,
it does to me. Yeah,
it's not tripping over your words with that. So, and I think it does actually get there because of that riff. It just slows you down. That that little riff. And Belinda Campbell, who does a lot of backing vocals. She's fantastic. So she and I did the backing vocals as well. So it just puts another dimension.
Yeah. Well, how did you get to work with her? Yeah. I said, how did you get to start working with her? With Belinda?
Okay. It's friends of friends. Okay. Years and years ago. But she was 19 when that first started.
Okay.
So friends of friends. She had a band with the sister of the wife of a friend of mine. So, that's how that came about. I heard her voice. And I didn't use her as backing vocalist at that point. I recorded a few songs
Okay.
with her and her band, which are called My Weird Sister. So it shows you a bit of the time when that was from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've remained, in contact over the years, and yeah, she's just brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
Well,
on Making Up for Lost Love, that's Belinda doing the backing vocals on that.
That's her on backing.
Yeah,
All right.
it's really, really.
Well, let me ask you this about Medicine Head tracks and songs. Are there any that haven't been released that are still in the vaults?
Are there any old?
Yeah,
tracks?
older tracks that are still in the vaults that haven't.
Yeah, and there's the very, very first ever recordings that we ever did, which just me on piano, Peter on harmonica. I think that was my granddaughter then.
I thought I heard something.
Yeah, that's from 1968 or 69. That they've never been released.
Yeah,
but I'm threatening to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, any plans to do that? Yeah.
I'd have to.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hey, say hello.
Hi,
what's your name?
Ruby Rose Ryan.
Ah,
Ruby
nice to
Rose.
meet you. Nice to meet. How old are you?
You're how old are you?
How old are you? Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
Sorry, Dad.
It's all right,
Are you?
then.
That's all right. That's all right. Are you having fun? Are you
This
having
is
fun?
Greg. Greg is in Texas.
Yeah.
Because you is Texas.
I'll tell you on the globe. See you later. We're almost
All
done.
right. All right. Yes. There we go. She made a camp. Oh, okay. Bye bye. Oh, looky there. Wow. Oh, wow. she made a cameo. She made a cameo. Yeah. That's all right. That's all right.
What is it?
You have to tell me, what is that?
Oh.
My name is Joy from her drawing class.
Oh,
Right.
in drawing
It's
class.
a portrait or a drawing of the group of grandmothers.
Wow. Oh, wow. Somebody drew that. That's real. That's very that's very
Take
good.
over.
You know, it's interesting.
I'll see you in a minute.
The personalities with children is different. Some of them are so shy they wouldn't approach the camera, and then others are, right up here.
Yeah, she
I like that.
works the room.
Yeah, works it. That's right. And like I said, she got her cameo appearance in, so that's all right. That's all right. The interesting is later on.
Chicken pox.
Oh, did she? Okay.
She's just about over the spots that she's going.
I couldn't tell from the view.
Right.
All right. She's just about over that. Okay,
Yeah.
Good. So she'll be going to kindergarten next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's about the same age here, about 5 years old. Well, that's fun. That's fun. I
knew she'd be in.
You knew she was going to make it in.
Gate crash, just like her grandfather.
What'll be interesting is if this lasts, these recordings, when she gets older, to look back at it, and say, "Look, I was in there with my dad, with my grandpa's, interview." Well, John, can you think of anything you'd like to add in closing?
Yeah.
Or mention?
Well,
yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me onto your podcast here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Really something. And
You're
if
welcome.
I could just say to people out there, you can find out a lot about me if you go to my website. Is it okay if I just tell?
Yes, plug away.
Right. So website is Medicine Head, all one word, dot rocks, ROCKS, not .com, not .co.uk, but dot rocks.
Yeah.
So medicinehead.rocks, and you can leave messages there. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought. Go ahead.
And I'm back on. Actually, I should say this as well. I'm actually back out playing now. I haven't played for quite a while, but I'm actually out doing gigs now. So, if you get the chance, I might try to get over to the USA. So we'll see.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. Well, let me know too, especially if you come anywhere near Texas or to Texas. Yeah. Let me know. All right. Well, thanks again, John. I really appreciate it, your time, and for sharing and dusting off some cobwebs up there in the attic.
You could see them.
Right.
Well, thank you. Will you let me know when you got your?
Yeah.
I sure
will. All right, John. Well, I will let you know, and keep in touch. All the best to you. And
to you, Greg. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.